Okay, so in this video, we're going to look at how we can sketch our sine, our cos, and our tan graph. So it'll be useful in this video for you to have your calculators at hand, mainly because when we first draw sine, cos, and tan graphs, it's nice to know where the values come from. So let's have a look at the sine graph first. So what I want you to do is I want you to, in your calculator, we're going to have a look at when x is 0. Okay, so similar to when we looked at plotting graphs, x is 0, which means we're going to have the sine of 0. And this should give you a value of 0. Okay, so we have the point 0, 0. Next, when x is 45, we'll have the sine of 45. Well, the sine of 45 gives us 1. Similarly, if I put the sine of 90 in my calculator, I get a value of 0. Okay, so I want you to pause the video now and try to do the rest of this on your own, sketching in all of the points. Okay, so you should have something which looks similar to this. So all of your dots should look similar to this. And the last step that we need to do is actually to join these up in sort of a curve-like fashion. Okay, hopefully yours looks a lot better than mine. So it should look something similar to this. So you can see that it goes up and down, which is why that in like an exam, you might not have a calculator to work out these values. You just need to kind of know the fashion of this, that it goes up in increments of 45 each time and goes from 0 to 1 to 0 to minus 1. Okay, let's have a look at the cos graph. So let's do this in the same way. So the cos of 0, if I type the cos of 0 in my calculator, I get 1. Next, the cos of 45 gives me a value of 0. The cos of 90 minus 1. Okay, and you can pause the video again if you'd like to carry on this yourself. And it should look something like this once you're finished. Okay, so the last thing we need to do again is to join these points up in almost like a curve-like way. So it should look something similar to this. Perfect. Okay, so the tan graph is the one that is really hard and everybody hates. So the reason for this is because some of the values of x don't give us an actual value of y. And we'll come on to the reason why this is later in the video. So first, let's just say, well, what happens when x is 0? Well, the tan of 0 gives me 0. That's okay. But what happens now when I have the tan of 45? Type that in my calculator for me and tell me what you get. So when you type in the tan of 45, you should get something that says maths error. And what this means is at 45, you have what is called an asymptote. Okay, so you have almost like an asymptote at 45, which means that my line will get very, very close to 45, but will never reach it. So it'll look something like this. Can you try for me now? If I put the tan of 90 in, you should get a value of 0. But what happens when I do the tan of 135? You can see it gives us maths error again, which means that again I've got an asymptote at 135. And if I type all of this in my calculator, I'm going to have asymptotes again at 225 and again at 315. So every sort of 180 sort of increment that we have. Okay, so the next thing I need to do then is I need to draw in what this looks like. And what happens is my lines will carry on getting really, really close to these asymptotes, but they will never touch it. Okay, so we'll have another point of 0 at 180, and it will get really, really close to the line, but never touch it. Again at 270, and lastly at 360. Okay, so hopefully you understood this video and you were able to construct these graphs on your own. The next thing that we're going to be looking at on the transformation of graphs is how I can move these graphs about depending on what happens to my function.